Hey there, gorgeous souls. Welcome back. Today I have a very empowering message for all of you rescuers in particular, or just by being a person who's in any form of relationship. Today we're going to touch base on one of the frameworks that has definitely been tried and tested over the years, over the decades, based on the drama triangle. So I know a lot of you guys are aware of this framework. For those of you who aren't, I'm definitely going to give you an overview of it. So it'll be really, really empowering for you to basically definitely have in your life in terms of, understanding the dynamics of relationship and understanding how you operate in relationship and whether or not that is toxic or it's healthy. And if you find yourself and you bring some awareness to the toxicity of how you're operating in those relationships, today's message is also going to give you the way out of that. All right. So we talk about the empowerment dynamic as well. But today, as usual, I'm going to be sharing with you guys my own personal story on this right now, what's happening in my life in real time that has sparked my desire to really contribute this message to you guys. And as usual, I want you guys to get involved. I love interacting with you guys. I love hearing from you guys. I want to hear your perspectives. I want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear any questions that you might have or any of your own personal experience that you want to contribute to the conversation. That's what this space is all about. So definitely want to hear from you guys with that. And as you are tuning in, I would absolutely love for you to drop me a comment. Let me know where in the world you're tuning in from and tell me, just say hi. Let me check in, because as I'm doing these from my business page now, I don't think I can get to see many of you guys as to who is actually tuning in. So if you drop me a comment, I get to know who you are. I can only otherwise just see the numbers usually. And I will say as well, if today's message is of value to you, if you do find that there are people in your life, maybe that you're in relationship with, who could definitely benefit from having this understanding and ability to really, just pitch and catch with you in terms of what's going on in your relationship dynamics, and take the personal element out of it and look at the framework and the psychology behind us as human beings, so that we can ultimately transcend anything that we are, engaging in that is less than what we have the potential of creating in terms of the depth of connection with love and relationships. And I ultimately want to get us to this place of real, authentic depth of connection between individuals who are completely open, transparent, and desire to really create loving depth and don't sacrifice it based on their own fears and insecurities and projections onto one another. All right, so this is a powerful one for anybody who wants to have successful, deeply fulfilling relationships. All right, now I can get going. And I see Giannis is saying Kalimera. Kalimera to you over in beautiful Greece. Coming right to you from Australia. All right, so last little thing I will point at as well. I've got this stars feature, which is a great way that you guys can contribute and support these messages. So if you feel inclined to contribute through the stars feature, I only had my first stars last week, so that was really fun, and just to see how it all works, and it's so appreciated, so that I can really channel these messages and continue bringing them for you. And it lets Facebook know that you guys are actually interested in these messages, so I can actually get notified and these messages continue to reach more people. Otherwise, I kind of just slump to the side, and that's why I can't get out to many of you guys. All right, all that being said, today's message is attention all rescuers. All of you who want to just rescue and save everybody and protect everybody, whenever there's a victim or a perpetrator, we're going to talk about that. But it's attention all rescuers. Your well-intentioned white lies are the cause of the toxicity in your relationship. And I want to actually change that slightly, or add to that slightly as I was saying that, and say, you're perpetuating the cycle of toxicity in your relationship dynamics, no matter how well intentioned you are. Now, what does this mean? Let's break it down. Now, firstly, let's just give you a quick overview for those of you who need a refresher or you're unaware of what the drama triangle is. Basically, this is a system that was created by, I've forgotten his name right now, sorry, but a psychologist who was working with Alcoholics Anonymous, basically the founder of Alcoholics Anonymous. And as he was studying basically the dynamics that were toxic between, alcoholics and their families, he discovered this framework and developed this framework of the drama triangle, which basically sees that there is a victim, there is a perpetrator, and there's a rescuer. In every single dramatic experience or argument or fight or whatever goes on, any sort of conflict in any of your relationships, basically, you will see that there's a victim. Maybe it's you, maybe it's somebody else. There's a perpetrator, somebody creating the victim there, and also a rescuer, somebody who wants to save the victim, right? And protect it. And so basically this is what's going on in any single relationship dynamic that is conflicting and that is unhealthy, all right? You're playing one of those roles, somebody else, whoever else is playing one of those roles, and we can flick between each of those three roles, but basically each of us has like kind of a core drama position or role, all right? So you can look at it like that, all right? So we've established when we're in conflict. Now, what happens, why this message is particularly geared towards rescuers, which has been the position that I've definitely been a part of mainly, and I know a lot of you guys that I connect with tend to be rescuers, but also, we fall into the other categories as well. But basically, I want to focus on the good intentions of the rescuer, all right? So the rescuer oftentimes finds itself in a position where it wants to protect a victim so much that it does things that are less than honest and truthful, all right? And I want to really highlight this because I feel as though our well-intentioned, our good intentions get lost in translation, and we don't see the negative impact that they have when we're not taking a broader, bigger step back and really looking at the dynamic, knowing that every time we're operating in the drama triangle, it's not healthy, all right? It's not healthy for anyone. And I've got a deep dive in a masterclass on this for anybody who is interested. You can always join us in the Limitless Potential Academy monthly masterclasses and get access to all of our previous, a whole library of our previous masterclasses, in which this is one of the key ones for anybody wanting to have successful relationships and unpack and truly and deeply understand their role in relationship and what's creating the things that they don't want, the results that they don't want, and being able to understand everybody in relationship to them as well, all right? And get into that empowerment dynamic, which we'll talk about a little later as well. Okay, so basically we've got the rescuer, we understand what that is, and we understand, now let me bring in some story so it makes it more digestible, all right? So currently, in some of the relationship dynamics that I am a part of, I'm kind of taking a step back from this dynamic, and there are three people involved, and yes, they all shift in those dynamics, in playing those roles, but I'm looking at a particular circumstance that they're all involved in right now. And I'm involved in as well, but I'm taking a different stance, right? And we'll talk about that in a moment. But basically, what I'm seeing is the perpetrator in this circumstance basically is lacking an ability to directly communicate about their own grievances. And basically what this perpetrator is doing is putting the pressure on the rescuer to basically kind of using the rescuer as a pawn in order to victimize the other party in this dynamic. All right. And I'm watching the rescuer cover up the misdeeds of this perpetrator, right? And basically the person who can't communicate openly and directly about their grievances is processing and reconciling their pain through manipulating other people and putting other people in positions that are actually costing the victim unbeknownst to them, all right? And I'm seeing the rescuer as very well-intentioned, trying to cover up the misdeeds going on there in order to protect the victim from hurt and ultimately keep everybody connected. Okay, and so you can see that's a good intention, right? But I, through my experience and also through knowing all these people and the circumstances as well, I'm seeing it from a different way. And currently I am challenging this rescuer on their good intentions because I'm wanting to shift the dynamic out of the drama triangle and into the empowerment dynamic, all right? And basically what that sees people do is the rescuer becomes the coach, right? It's like taking 100% responsibility, giving people all of the truth and the details and coaching them, believing in them, and moving them forward in that way, but not covering up for them, not taking the 100% responsibility away from them and enabling them to stay victimized or the perpetrator to keep perpetrating and nobody else has to take responsibility. And the perpetrator will become the challenger and the victim can become the creator of their own life and circumstances, all right? And so I'm challenging this rescuer, basically sharing with them a different perspective that highlights how their good intentions, their white lies, is actually sacrificing the connection and perpetuating the cycle of toxicity in this dynamic. And basically, every time we cover up as a rescuer the misdeeds of another person and trying to protect that victim from hurt, you actually break the bond of trust in all of your relationships. Number one, you break the bond of trust within yourself. Because you're not being truthful and honest, you are covering things up, right? And basically this sets up your own relationship with yourself on a dishonest foot, right? You need to be the kind of person that you'd be proud to be. And somebody who is lying or being dishonest, and I know even though you've got good intention, I really just want to wake you up a little bit because you are lying and being dishonest even if you're well-intentioned, all right? So you break the bond of trust with yourself. You also break the bond of trust between you and your relationship with the person who is the victim in this circumstance. And if you don't only break trust, you also lose respect, because anytime you can get away with a lie with somebody, even if you're not consciously aware of it, you actually lose a bit of respect for that person. All right? And so basically you are breaking the potential of your connection with that victim by trying to protect them by covering up the misdeeds of the perpetrator and lying. Even though you think you're trying to save the victim from being hurt, basically you are ruining your relationship. And whenever you stay stuck in the perpetuation of any of those roles in the drama triangle of the rescuer, the perpetrator, or the victim, basically you are keeping your relationship, the quality of your relationships, on this very surface level area where there's no real opportunity for depth. All right, we might be in connection with one another, but we don't have depth and truth and honesty and realness and taking responsibility and growth and accessing potential. We've robbed the potential, we've sacrificed the potential, because we are perpetuating our role. Now, what I said to this person was, and actually doing that as the rescuer and taking that burden of responsibility again and again and again and again is detrimental to your own health, mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, all right? And so basically I can see this perpetuated cycle that's not new, right? Some of the roles tend to change, but basically this person ends up being the rescuer a lot of the time, particularly with these other individuals, and it's taking its toll on their health. Basically, the best thing here is to remove that cog from the system. And this is what I want you to think about as well. Like, what cog are you in the system of the drama triangle that you're playing in? And basically the removal of you as the cog in that system resets the whole system, because if you remove you and the role that you play, you directly impact the other people who were relying on you playing your role in that system, and you put them in a position of being forced to take responsibility, right? The victim becoming the creator of their own life, and the perpetrator actually becoming the challenger in the circumstance. You give them an opportunity to actually grow. All right, and you also take a lead role in looking after yourself, taking responsibility for your life and shifting the dynamic and giving it the potential to actually become an empowering dynamic. And at this point, there has to be a willingness, like a lack of attachment to anybody else having to, stay in connection or be a certain way or, whatever, because you have to be willing to let go of that connection entirely for it to have the potential to grow to what it could be. So most people stay stuck. They settle for any type of connection, toxic or whatever, instead of moving into taking the risk for the potential of the dynamic and potential of the empowerment of those relationships, the health of those relationships. That's what most people do, right? Because we all as human beings have an innate fear of being alone, right? Of disconnection, of being ostracized. And that's what keeps us perpetuating these unhealthy dynamics and staying in the drama triangle, right? And so every single one of us is waiting for somebody else to go first, right? Everybody's waiting for somebody else to change for us to be okay. And you have to lose that attachment. You have to take 100% responsibility, and you have to believe in the power that your cog holds in the system. If you remove it, if you shift out of the drama and you shift up to the empowerment and you take a new role, right? That will force, that's the best way that you can ever impact or influence people in the healthiest way to come and meet you at that standard, is to remove your cog in that system so they can no longer depend and rely on you to perpetuate the cycle of toxicity. All right, so you have to realize your power in the circumstance, and you also have to realize why you're continuing to play that role, right? And you have to realize and own that you're settling for toxic connection over the potential of real depth, and basically because of our fear of being alone. But you have to get to a point where you realize that when we stay in toxic dynamics that are unfulfilling, they're not fulfilling for anybody, right? Like they just force us onto the surface, like I said, where drama comes and goes, the roller coaster of emotion. There's really no depth. Everybody's just trying to change people or manipulate people, no matter how well-intentioned or badly intentioned any of those parties are. And basically, that is such a waste of breath and life and any connection. So the number one key is giving to yourself what you need, right? What are you after in those dynamics? How do you expect others to change in order for you to feel okay? You have to do this work, right? And most people don't want to do it, right? They just want the easy magic pill rather than taking the responsibility. And that's why, no risk, no reward, right? No pain, no gain, right? Like you have to go through it in order to access the potential that is truly available to you, right? And so my challenge to you is to, number one, look at the dynamics, look at the perpetual cycles of drama that you have with certain people in your life, right? Maybe you might be in a place right now where, it's okay. There's harmony of some sort, right? But you're just waiting for the next, volcano to erupt, right? And then you're going to have the drama all over again. And basically, I want you to look at and identify who are those relationships with? What are the dynamics? What role are you playing? Do you play the victim, right? And do you really need to step up and be the creator in your own life? And that's your removal of the cog from the unhealthy system and the up leveling, raising the bar and helping people to come on that journey or not. But at the end of the day, you're disconnecting from the drama and the toxicity of a dynamic that's been at play, and you're taking responsibility for your part in that system and removing your cog in the system, which is the only valuable way to be able to influence others to come and meet you in a higher standard of health, because we can never control or change anybody else. But if you want to have the greatest impact, it's the whatever you're doing, the removal of you from that cog in the system forces people in the system to either break apart fully or regroup in a different system, a more well-intentioned system, right? Or are you playing the perpetrator? Is it you that is kind of being the bully a lot in the circumstances? And maybe you need to actually own that. Not maybe, you definitely need to own that and look at a role that is utilizing the power of that in a much healthier way, which becomes the challenger to those circumstances. Instead of beating people down, you envision their potential, you alert them to it, and you challenge them lovingly to access it, but you don't have attachment to it. You don't need them to do things that you think are right in order for you to feel okay, right? Or beautiful rescuers out there, are you in that rescuer position, right? Where you're constantly, mitigating the conflict, and you're running over here and you're trying to protect the victim, or you're covering up the misdeeds of the perpetrator so they don't have to take responsibility and this person doesn't get hurt. But really what you're doing in those circumstances is robbing people of the responsibility in order that they must access and own in order to grow. So you're robbing the people that you supposedly love from their potential to grow, all right? And you're perpetuating the cycle of toxicity. So instead of being the rescuer, is it that you need to actually focus on how you can become the coach in this circumstance, all right? And the coach is somebody who does not take over the circumstances of other people. They voice the truth and they ask questions. They allow that person to come up with their own ways of being, right? They take a step back. They're not trying to control somebody anymore. They're not trying to manipulate the situation. They are putting their trust in that other individual, in their potential, and they're backing them. They're cheerleading them to back themselves in the healthiest way possible, all right? So these are, if you're in those drama triangle roles and positions, you're robbing everybody of the depth of connection that is available to you, and you're sacrificing it, basically. Sacrificing yourself, you're sacrificing the other parties in those dynamics, and you're keeping the relationship connection on a very surface level, which is not fulfilling for anybody and just perpetuates the toxicity. And instead, what we want to do is shift into the empowerment dynamic, where our relationships are ones between people who take 100% responsibility for how they feel. They don't need anybody else in the dynamic to change in order for them to feel okay, but they're at choice point in terms of whether they choose to be in those dynamics, being fully conscious aware of what's at play, or they choose to leave those dynamics behind and regroup and attract other people and be in relationships with other people who can meet them at a healthy level. Stop sacrificing your potential for depth of connection, all right? Just to stay in some sort of connection, no matter how toxic. Start up leveling that, and the way that you really, really want to do that is, yes, have the awareness of everything that we've been talking about today, but until you become the quality of person who is fully meeting of your own needs, right? You can fulfill for yourself. You don't need anybody else to validate you, to make you feel okay in the world, or you don't need to control anybody else in order for you to feel significant or whatever. Like, until you can become the person who is detached from any other human being, having to be a certain way for you to feel okay, right? And you You no longer need to mold yourself in order to get something from the external world, because you're already giving it to yourself. Until you become that person, it's going to be very incredibly difficult for you to exit out of toxic dynamics, because you're reliant on those people to keep playing those cogs in the system that they are for you to continue on your path, right? So the onus lays with you, always taking responsibility, doing the growth work, and accessing a depth of connection within yourself that sets the standard for all other connections in your life, so that you no longer settle. You can accept that people are who they are and you can't change them, and they may not be willing to grow as you are, so you may not be able to create the quality of dynamic with them that you would ultimately want. You have to accept that, but never ever settle for that. You are the owner of your potential, your fulfillment. Nobody's going to do it for you. Raise the bar, set the standard in your own relationship with yourself. Recognize and be very aware of your patterns and how you fall into the trap of like we all do, of the dynamics between in the drama triangle, and refuse to settle for that standard. Like I said, you have to up-level the relationship within yourself, so you have no attachment to anybody else, or no reliance on anybody else to meet your needs for you, right? And instead, what that does is creates this huge freedom within yourself and between yourself and others, where if people don't come on that journey with you, no matter what role they play in your life, no matter if they're family, friends, people have been in your life forever, it just doesn't matter anymore, because you recognize that even if they can't come with you on that journey and grow, if you were to just stay and meet them on their level, you're actually hurting them. You're actually not giving them any opportunity or challenge to grow and reach their potential. You're not role modeling the possibilities that are actually available to them. And if you kept on their level and perpetuating that dramatic cycle, you're actually robbing them of their heartbeats in this life, right? So if you want to have the best, most loving impact on those around you, raise the bar and the standard within you. Invite them on that journey, but do not lower your standards. Hold your standards high and invite them on that journey. And maybe along the journey, they may come along with you. They may come along from the beginning. It may take some proof. They may need to see you, and the results and the depth that you're experiencing. They may need to have to miss you, right? And your presence in their life, so that they're forced to actually question their reality, and you're being that role model for them. So if you want to be a truly loving person, you have to be willing to go it alone in order to be that kind of have a positive influence on other people's lives, and stop settling at their level of commitment to growth or their potential. And if they want to stay stuck there, you have to role model for them what it looks like to have a high quality of connection, depth of connection, growth, fulfillment, all the juicy stuff in life. And if they come on that journey, they do. If not, it's still the healthiest thing that you could possibly be doing for them, because you're challenging their model of the world. All right. And as you up level your own relationship with yourself, there's no loss there, right? You know what you stand to gain moving in the direction of empowerment, right? And you know that if you stayed stuck there, it'd be so limiting, all right? So your fear of loss that you may be experiencing before you establish a healthy relationship within yourself might be so terrifying to you. But just know, as you go on this journey, you start taking those courageous, bold moves, your fears will dissipate, and you'll see your focus will shift from what you stand to lose, which is poor connection. You'll realize what that is, and your focus will be really in gear with what you stand to gain, right? The pleasure, the value, the depth, the potential, all that great stuff. All right, so that is my message for you. Little bit of a rant as usual for you guys. I hope it was of value to you as well, though, and it's just got you thinking about your own relationship dynamics. And any questions or comments or words of wisdom that you want to contribute to the conversation, you guys know I absolutely love hearing from you. So let me check in right now and see who's been able to join me. So I've got, Giannis, Calimera, and Judy, and Ronnie, and Sophia. Hello to you, beautiful. And Leo's here as well, and Rachel, and Bill. Hello, love all the new things you're up to. Thank you so much, Bill. I so appreciate you, my friend. And always love having you here. And also Jared. Hey, Vanessa, I hope you're going well. I just completed my diploma in life coaching. Well done, my friend. That's awesome. Great to hear that. Hope it's an amazing journey for you. I love getting to connect with people who contribute to others. So that's awesome. Congratulations, my friend. And Jerry, watching from work. You're always welcome, my friend. Good to have you back. And Don's in the house. Good to see you, Don. And Bill, do not turn your happiness over to anyone. Absolutely. Take that responsibility back into your own hands. And, the standards, no matter what we get in validation from the external world, it might be good, right? But it's short-lived, right? So if you're trying to rely on other people for your happiness, right? Basically you're going to be very needy, and it's going to be kind of trying to fill an endless pit. So when you recognize that it's when you set your own standards for what makes you happy, what makes you fulfilled, what makes you proud of the human being that you are, and you live up to those standards, those personal standards, that is what is sustainable and will perpetuate you on the cycle, the healthy, empowered cycle to reaching your potential and establishing depth of connection with others, because you're not needing them to be a certain way for you to be okay or happy, right? And you can actually create this space for you as an individual and them as an individual to share and contribute to one another that is enhancing each other's lives, not needily trying to get something from the other and molding ourselves to be whatever we think we need to be in order to get that happiness or whatever it is. So I love that, Bill. Abso-freaking-lutely. And Jerry, do it for yourself. You deserve it. Making your authenticity, which others relate to. Absolutely, my friend. Honor that authenticity and make it your greatest filter for all relationships. You'll repel people who don't want to meet you on that depth, and you'll definitely attract people who can love you for who you are because you're sharing of it. I love that. Awesomely put, Bill. Jerry, sorry. And Jocelyn's here as well. Awesome. And Jose, always good to see you and always excited for what you're going to contribute today. So hello, Vanessa. In our Mexican culture, we have a saying: when you feel you that are not enough, you search any. Okay. All right. Okay, it means you are playing the victim to avoid loneliness and fill up that gap with any bug from the street. Okay, yes. But never or rarely we ask questions to ourselves to find out our worth and share our worth in people in our lives, staying always in low level of life. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So when you feel you are not good enough, which is basically every single human being walking the face of the planet shares that same underlying basic fear that we're not good enough in some way, shape, or form. And if we're not good enough, we won't be loved, right? And basically that means death for us as human beings, because we are connection machines. And so, yeah, absolutely. When you do not feel good enough within yourself, which is every human being has had this experience and continues to have this pop up in different ways, shapes, or form, when we look at it in a very self-defeating and deflating way, we tend to try and cover that up, mask that up, and be whatever we perceive we need to be in order to hide that truth we think it is, from the world around us, so that we can get their love and feel a fleeting sense that we are good enough if they love us or want to be connected to us or whatever it is, right? And instead, what we need to do is recognize that all of us on the most human level have that fear of not being good enough. And in actual fact, it's not something to defeat and deflate ourselves around, which perpetuates the cycle that Jose is talking about there, to just, settle for anybody or any connections, right? Any bug, right? And instead, we need to recognize that as a basic fundamental human fear that we all share. And instead of being deflated and defeating ourselves and looking to other people to, try and mitigate that fear, Instead, what we need to do is recognize that anytime I do not feel good enough in some way, shape, or form, what it's actually pointing to is what I actually value in life. So how can I utilize this fear, right, that we all have to point me and gain clarity over what I really value and go about becoming the kind of person and discerning the kind of person that I would be most proud of myself to be, right? Meeting my own healthy standards. And as you go about that journey of clarity and direction towards becoming and being the person that you are most proud to be, highlighted by your fears, pointing to your values, right? Then basically that allows you to become a very empowered human being who loses our attachment to other people needing to be a certain way or give us certain validation of any variety in order for us to feel okay. We take the power back. We're able to really build a strong connection within ourselves, which allows us to up level the standard of our connection with other people around us, being the role model that shows what's possible and inspires others to step out of their fears and actually into love and depth of connection and authenticity. And that is the best cycle that we could go on. All right. So I love that, Jose. So appreciate you sharing those experiences and thoughts from your culture. I absolutely love it and very much resonating with it as well. So that is my message for each and every one of you guys today. I hope it's been of value to you. Like I said, please do share this message if it is of value. And Jose, yes, you nailed it. Thank you. Grateful to hear that, my friend. And like I said, if you want to contribute to these messages and let Facebook know that you actually value getting alerted to these messages and you want these messages to continue, I'd greatly appreciate any of you guys who want to engage in the stars feature in these messages. I'd so appreciate that. So that is it from me today, guys. Please share this message, and the reminder that I leave you guys with each and every time is to go out there and honor your authenticity, to deepen your intimacy and that depth of connection, and to contribute your unique gifts meaningfully and purposefully. That's the work I do. If you ever want any support or guidance in that, you can always reach out, and I'd encourage those of you who are interested in taking a much deeper dive into the drama triangle, the empowerment dynamic, and ultimately uplifting the standard of your relationships of any variety. So you know you have this tool in your tool belt, then you want to be part of the Limitless Potential monthly masterclasses. You'll get access to the whole library of all our previous masterclasses, and we get on calls every single month and connect, and I get to support you personally. So if you want to be a part of that, just shoot me a message or drop me a comment and I'll send you the details, and I'd love to get to connect with you on a much deeper level. All right. That's my message. Thank you so much to everybody who was able to join me live today, contribute your thoughts and your perspectives and just your presence. You are absolutely so appreciated. Thank you for your contributions and co-creating this space with me, and I can't wait to see you guys really, really soon. Much love.